Martin, can you please make a video tutorial on how to light backgrounds? Of course I can. I will take a couple of examples from my short films and I will try to give you all my tips and tricks on how you can make a background a little bit more interesting, especially when you have to deal with white walls and when you have to make your film location look a lot better than it actually is. Here in my first example of lighting the background is from my Alien Infestation short part 1. And as you can see here, we are dealing with a background that I lit with a panel right up here, shining light down like this. And as you can see, that gives us these highlights here. And the theory also, by using a little bit of a blue light, is to separate the actor that is lit with a warmer light. That makes her stand out quite a lot from the background that is getting this cool tint. My next example is this shot from Alien Infestation Part 2. As you can see here, we have a light shining onto the wall here, and also the ceiling, and then the other side of the wall, and also the floor here. So I guess this counts as lighting the background, and this is actually a trick I did. I put my panel right here, straight down in the middle, and then in post I just removed that light so I could get these spots of light all over the place, and really sense of depth here, because the key point I want to bring up here is that if you shine your light towards the camera, you will always get these long shadows that will be very cinematic and adds to the depth in the scene. Now we're moving on to the next short film called Dark Love, and here in this exterior shot I chose this spot here with the car just because I could get this lamp light for free if I just made the actor park his car right here. But I wanted to do something a little bit extra with this shot, and I'm actually shining a 60-watt light here just outside of the frame onto this tree here, and that is also spilling a little bit here on this house. And also over here I have another 60-watt light that is shining straight to the car at an angle, so we get a little bit of that bluish light bouncing off that car. In this interior shot of Dark Love, we have our actor here standing in front of the kitchen, and I have a light shining down on her like this. I think it was a tube light with a grid, so I didn't spill all of that light all over the place. But if you look closely here in the background, here is what I did just to make this a little bit more of an interesting set or interesting location. This wall back here is all white. So what I did was I took a light with camouflage net and shined that light through that net into this room from the other room. There's a doorway over here. So I'm shining the light in like this and creating this pattern here on the wall. And you can argue what is that, but my idea is maybe it's the moon shining through the trees and creating this, a little bit of a mysterious light on this wall. The next shot here in Dark Love, I put a light down here in the kitchen behind her and just directed it towards the ceiling like this, just to give me some kind of, splash of blue moonlight going like this. I thought it was very boring without anything behind these two actors, so I just tried to shoot that light through this doorway and getting this kind of rectangle form with this blue light. Here's another example where we have our actress. She has a warm color tone, and in the other room in the kitchen here we have a blue light shining onto this doorway and also onto these clothes here. So you have this nice separation. She's being warm and cozy, and you have this cool background that makes for an interesting color contrast. So that's a theory that makes for a interesting image when you can have colors that are opposite to each other. So you have a warm part here and you have the cool part in the background here that separates this scene into layers, basically. In this shot, she's actually being lit only by this practical light. And over here I have a panel shining onto her side here, just creating this rim. And I made sure I'd used a grid like this so I don't have all of that spill going everywhere and just brightening up this side. I didn't want that. I wanted this to be a moody scene. She's about to go to bed, so a grid is perfect use in this case. And if you look closely here in the background, I took another panel and just put it on the floor here just to shine up the background like this, because my idea was that there is probably another bed light behind here that we just can't see. And this also creates this feeling of layers in the image. So you have her here, and then you can like separate her from the background by putting a uplight basically behind her and shining up this part. So layers. Layers are filmmaker's best friend, or actually cinematographer's best friend. Think in layers. One layer here, she is one layer, and then you have the background that is a third layer. And if we would go even further, it would be cool if we could have another layer in the background here, maybe a city skyline, or some kind of view from the window. We shot this at daytime, so I just needed to make this dark. So that was like a compromise I had to do, just block this out completely. Okay, next shot, we have our door opening here, and once again we have layers. This room is basically in complete darkness, and up here I have a panel shining down with a grid, so you get this nice fall off down here. You can see that you have blue light shining down here, and then it goes into darkness up here. Also outside here I have one other panel that is shining into the door, so you can see we have these little bit of a scary shadows going on here. So now we're moving on to my short film Together, and my approach in this short film was try to light my actors as much as possible so that I can bring my boring white walls way down, so that at least they can appear to be gray. So here I have my actor being lit by actually this panel. If you look closely, you can see the panel right there. But the motivation is that it's actually this practical that is lighting up his face. And I put that light at, I think, a maximum intensity, just to be able to expose down in cameras so everything else can become dark. We have another practical here, and also behind him we have a practical here that is lighting up the background, again creating some separation between him and the background. And again, thinking layers, we have a layer here with our actress being covered in complete darkness, and then we have him in one layer, and then the background in another layer. Again, in this shot, we have a panel shining up to his face here, and in the background, we have that practical is still here, shining up this part, and then we have this that's also a practical, but it's actually a Amaran tube that I with magnets just attached to this kitchen fan. And also above we have a normal fixture that is part of the apartment, and that fixture I just put a skirt on it so that we could block off most of that light so we don't spill that light everywhere, and just make sure that we get this nice fall off on the background. You can see that it goes much darker here, and that makes just for a more interesting image. Here's our next shot, and we again have our practical just shining up his face like this, and in the background we have our practical again shining up this part of the image. And basically this is what I did in this short film. I just tried to make use of practicals as much as possible and make it dark, and just expose down as much as possible to make the white all gray, and also the haze adds to the atmosphere here, of course. So I can share this shot from my upcoming short film, From Our Hands. We have a character here, and she is sitting in the middle of my living room, and I lit her with a Amaran 200X, shooting into an umbrella just outside of the frame here, and above her I have a Amaran 60X panel shining down like this and creating this backlight that you can see here. So when I looked into the monitor while I lit this shot, I thought that my background was a little bit too dark. So what I did was I just put a simple small panel behind my sofa here. So we have a pool of light here. We have the light behind her. And also notice that we go from, you know, a warm tone in this part, and we have a cooler tone from the windows here. And then we get back to the warmer tone here at the right side. And by going with that, you can create a very interesting dynamic in your shots, in your cinematography. So here's the last shot I can share from my upcoming short film, From Our Hands. And this shot is basically just lit by all of these practicals we have here. Oh, crazy. What happened with my pencil? That's a little bit too much. We have one practical here, and also all of these lights and this candle holder here. And then in the ceiling, I have one light shining down and just creating a very subtle little backlight onto my character here. And also, since behind us we have our windows, and they're creating this little bit of bluish in these parts of the image here. So once again, it's all about layering. It's all about trying to separate your actor from the background in any way you can, and also trying to work with colors, trying to separate not only with contrast and light, but also with colors. Okay, everybody, I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!